Session is being recorded. So we send out the recording to the link if you attended every week. And if there are PowerPoints, we send a PDF with a link of the PDF out to you each week so that you can review the information. If you didn't have an opportunity to catch everything during this very short 1-hour session, remember, we've been hosting these every week since March 31st, every Tuesday. So thank you to everyone that has been joining us relentlessly every week during the pandemic. We're so excited to have you with us this week. One update we want to share with you is that our cognitive empowerment program, they've been hosting virtual sessions as well, but they've been doing them on Wednesdays. What we want to do this week is we're going to wrap up our BrainTalk Live, right, from 2 to 3-ish, we hope. Depending on if you have questions, you can post your questions in the chat or the Q&A during the sessions. And then we're going to close out this session, right? And then we're going to share another link so that you can continue on with your learning journey. And this week, we're going to feature Margot. She's going to be talking about nutrition and cognition. So how thoughtful that all of these topics sort of blend in really well together, okay? And Crystal, if you don't mind sending Whit the panelist link, he might be in his spam box, but he will be joining us towards the end. So a little bit of housekeeping, the session is being recorded. You can use the chat function and we'll try to get to those questions as best we can. If you hear something and you're not so sure about it, we always want to remind you to check in with your healthcare provider. That is your first line of defense, to check in with your healthcare provider. And then finally, be sure to share this information, take lots of notes, okay? And what do we begin with every week for our people who have been joining us week after week after week? What do we begin with? Exercise, yes, okay? We have to get your heart going. We got to get you all revved up and ready to listen to all this great information we're going to share. So what do we say every week? What's good for your heart is good for your brain. And so John Lewis has been right here with us every week, getting us going, getting our heart and brain blood flow going. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to John. So thank you everyone for joining us. John, take us away.
Hey, I want to welcome everyone to the Emory Alzheimer's Disease Research Center. And today, remember, if you're new, we need you to have a sturdy chair. If you have water bottles, you can get them at this time. If you have dumbbells, anything around the house that you want to use, but we're going to do it a little different. I'm going to sit down. You can sit in the chair. But today, some people say if they're on the couch or they're in their beds, you know, we can still work out at the same time. So let's get ready to go. Remember, you can stay in your chair if need be. All right, let's grab our dumbbells, our water bottles, and I want to press. Can we just do one arm? Let's switch. Press. Elbows up and press. There we go. Legs straight if you're on that couch or you're in that bed. But if you sit down, we okay. Press. Underhand. Elbows in and press. Right now, we get that upper body right. Rest. There we go. Halo and we get those shoulders, those lats. Come on, and that upper chest. Rest. There we go. Elbows in, and both arms. Press, press. Press, press, press. curl, curl. There we go. Come on, we getting those biceps right now. Great job. Turn them and curl. I call this the hammer curl. Hammer. Let's go. There we go. Come on. Rest. I'm gonna go to the side, elbows down, hands down, and pull. Come on. Now we really get those traps, those shoulders, and a little bit of those biceps. And rest. Elbows up. Here and press. 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 Great job. Here we go. Good job. Okay. Dumbbells away. All right, bend those knees. If you're sitting down, if you're in that chair, let's get going. Tap, tap. I'm leaning back just a little bit. We got them abs going. Them abs and that core is ready. Just keep tapping. Good blood flow. Any inflammation in them legs, we creating vibration right now. Rest. Okay. I want the right leg in. Pull. 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 Switch legs. Pull. Pull. Come on. Pull. 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 One more. Pull. Great job. Okay. Okay. I just want you to get them legs going. Get them legs going. Come on. Come on. Keep them going. And rest. Bend them knees. And we're going to go left to right. We're going to engage that core and them hips. Come on. Come on. Let's go. Remember, if you're on the couch, if you're on the floor, are you in that chair? We can still get it. Let's go. Rest. I'm gonna turn sideways. Y'all can open your hip. If you're in that chair, just open the hip up. Let's go. Come on. There we go. Rest. Remember, if you're in that chair, just get on the hip and bring that leg up. Let's go. Come on. And rest. Great job. Okay, we're gonna slow it down. Let's finish up with core. Turn. Body up straight. I want all of that core. Good posture. Higher. Keep turning. There we go. Keep turning. We engaging those abs, those side obliques, and we're working on that back. Now let's really engage those sides. Come on, crunch, 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 crunch. Come on. There we go. Come on. There we go. Rest. Right leg straight. Let's go. Angle. Rest. Other leg. Remember, it's the same thing if you're in your chair. It's okay. Angle. Okay, I'm gonna bend my knees a little bit. And what I'm gonna do, you slide up in that chair, just lean back. If you on that sofa, that's what we do. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Can we hold the last one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hey, we did a lot of details today. I want to thank y'all for coming on. But next week, I want to challenge everybody to invite 2 friends. Next week, invite 2 friends to the Alzheimer's Disease Research Center program. And I'm challenging you to invite 2 friends to get the information. And plus, you get to work out with me. I'm John Lewis, and see you later. Bye.
All right. Thank you, John. Thank you for getting us going, getting our heart rates pumping, and encouraging us this week. So welcome, everyone. We're going to dive right in. You're going to hear from Dr. Ken Hepburn, and he is our director of our Outreach, Recruitment, and Education Core with the Emory Alzheimer's Disease Research Center. So welcome, Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. I made you a co-host.
Great.
So if you want to pull up your slides or tell me how you want to.
I'll do it.
Okay. All right.
Wanted to say hello to everybody first. Welcome back from the election, which I think is over. And I see from one of our participants that she's been out working on early and advanced voting, and thank you for doing that. And now we can get ready for January 5th. Well, I am going to, been asked to talk about preparing for a very different holiday season. You know, it's clear that we're in a 3rd spike of the pandemic. And so everybody's going to be cautious, I think, and appropriately cautious about moving into a season with Thanksgiving and all of the holiday celebrations that occur in December and January. So it might be a good idea for those who are providing care for a person living with a dementia to begin to do some advanced planning about how to approach the holiday season. So clearly, and unfortunately, what should not happen is large family gatherings. I mean, one of the things we know with pretty good clarity is that when you bring a whole bunch of people together, you simply increase the risk of someone being a spreader and someone being a contractor. So large family gatherings, probably not a good idea. Shopping in public malls, well, there is a COVID risk, I think, of being in a big public space. If you go, probably wear a mask for sure. But if you're with a person who's living with dementia, taking that person to a mall can be very, very confusing. And so think more than twice about it. Probably avoid doing it. Holiday travel, getting on an airplane, lots and lots of precautions are occurring, but I would still, I myself would not take the risk, much as I'd like to go and see my grandkids. So it's the holidays. What can we do? Well, I would say make some adjustments, be safe, do everything you can to embrace the joy of the season and have a whole season of holidays. So one thing you could do is think about small pods. You're going to have 12 days of Christmas or 8 days of Hanukkah or 7 days of Kwanzaa and many, many weeks of Thanksgiving. So think about little events that you can have. We had somebody to dinner this weekend. We felt safe. She felt safe. We have a small pod of people. If you have a pod, have them one at a time. That becomes an event and a series of events for you, the person living with dementia, and also what a wonderful sort of sequential way to celebrate the holidays. Take outings. You can certainly go out, walk past the homes that are decorated, walk past religious centers and see how what decorations are going on there. You can also use that as a reminiscence thing. Certainly, walk through the commercial districts and look at the store windows. I can remember as a kid in New York, walking up and down Fifth Avenue and just kind of gawking at the things that were going on in the windows. Didn't have to go inside. So have those kinds of outings that are linked to the holidays. Be festive, decorate the home. Get a small tree if that's what you do. Put out your menorah, Kanara, put lights on the house, lights in the window. But do what you do that you can do safely. And certainly decoration and festive mood is important. Scented candles. I mean, that's a terrific way to keep the spirit of the holiday. And if you're not going to have a big family gathering, you're not going to go out and buy a turkey and bake a turkey and all the good smells that go with that. And then you're not going to make the turkey soup, which is even the better part, I think. Go get a rotisserie chicken. You can have the chicken and you can make the soup with the chicken and you have a day or two's worth of smells in the house. And that's the holiday. So there are some adjustments that you can make. And these are just a few, but think about it. The season becomes an opportunity for engagement by and with the person, okay? So engage the person in activities as are appropriate. If you're going to put up decorations, make it a joint deal. Whatever the person's remaining strengths are, maybe she can help you to actually put them up. Maybe she can help you to pick them out. Maybe she can be passively engaged in sort of seeing each decoration or each candle as it comes out and feel the sense that something's going on, decorating is occurring. Think about meals that are sort of traditional for the season, and again, engage the person. Can you help me to make the carrot dish that we like? If you are having someone over, it's an opportunity to dress up. It's an event. What should we wear? Should we put on that really nice sweater that you like? Can you help me wrap gifts? Whatever skill is left to do that, engage the person. Maybe the person still is able to do all the wrapping. Maybe the person can hold a finger down for the ribbon to be tied. Or maybe the person can just watch and enjoy you wrapping the gifts. Cards, whatever the particular holiday you have, can you help sign them? Doesn't matter how good or bad the signature looks. Maybe you can help me put these in an envelope. Maybe you can help seal the envelope. Engage the person. And Kwanzaa or Hanukkah, let's light tonight's candle. And it becomes an opportunity for reminiscence. I think especially in dementia illnesses where long-term memories endure for quite a while. What did you do for whatever holiday when you were a kid? Tell me some stories about that. What were your favorite parts of that holiday? What foods did you look forward to? What was the best gift you ever got? And let's look at some photos. So these are some things you can do with your person at the person's level of remaining strength to engage him or her in holiday season and to allow you to have as full a holiday season as we're able to do in this time of pandemic. So I think that's what I got, and I want to thank you and for joining us, and I wish you a happy beginning of a holiday season. So thanks.
Right. Thank you, Ken. So just to recap, you said do what you can do, but do it safely.
Yeah.
And we, as an institution and personally are encouraging people to wear a mask. Do you have any strategies for people who may, as a caregiver, they're taking their loved one out and they're trying to uh, enforce mask wearing is my question.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Probably, probably conceptually, you'd want to not think in terms of enforcing, but sharing. And so one strategy would be to say, can you help me put my mask on? Maybe, or just help get the person to see you doing it and then see if the person can do it herself, himself, or can I help you to do it? Um, and just see how it goes. It's not a hill worth dying for, right? So if you're going to go outside, frankly, if you're walking outside on the street, I don't know if this is non-orthodox, but I don't think the need for a mask is that great. If you're in a public space, it is. So if you can't get the person to wear the mask, don't go into a crowded public space. Stay outside and look at the windows. Monica, do you have any thoughts about that?
Oh, I'm sorry, Ken. I was trying to answer a question in the chat.
Oh, sorry. About mask wearing and whether in an open space, in a public, on a street, how critical is it for a person to be wearing a mask and to have to
I
go
actually think that's really a good question, because a lot of people who may have some dementia don't understand why they have to have this stuff on their face. And the more you try to keep it on, the more they pull it off. That's happened to me. And so Ken's right. If you can keep them distanced from other people, like if you're outside in a park or someplace where you're not necessarily going to be around anybody, don't force them to put a mask on. But more importantly, don't put that individual in an environment where they're likely to be distracted and disrupted by trying to do the mask thing. I say the mask thing because it does become a thing, because they want it off your face and you want it on their face, and they don't understand why they have to wear it. So minimize your own frustration by not putting them in an environment or a situation where that becomes necessary. So for all people living in the same household, you're used to each other, and so it may not be as important in your own home. But keep in mind, when you go to public places, the expectation now is that we all wear a face mask. And if you can't guarantee that your relative is going to be comfortable or is going to keep the mask on his or her face, maybe that's not someplace they need to go.
And Ken, just in closing, another final observation was, opportunity for engagement. I've seen a lot of neighbors, they are already putting out their Christmas decorations. So I think we're all looking for hope and bright spots. So I like your list of things and engagement opportunities. So we'll be sure to share the PowerPoint.
Great.
Okay, next up, we're going to hear from Dr. Parker. She's going to be talking about vascular health and dementia. And one reason for that is after the 19th forum, a lot of these issues and questions and concerns came up. So we wanted to take this time to share her insight and expertise about vascular health. But one quick update, remember, everyone, that immediately following this session, Matt is going to share a link in the chat for you all to join the CEP program, as they are planning for a session with Maureen about nutrition and cognition. Okay, give me just a second, Dr. Parker. Share. If you want to go ahead and introduce your topic while I work out these technical difficulties.
Sure. One of the things we talked about in our last forum was what are the different types of dementia? And one of the dementias that is probably most common and really not even related to Alzheimer's, it is not Alzheimer's. I want to get that straight because they have different mechanisms or things that cause them, is vascular dementia or cardiovascular. How does this relate to cardiovascular disease and cardiac dysfunction? One of the things that the Lancet Commission told us in 2017 was that 30% of all dementias were preventable. If you listen to our talk in our big forum, we talked about several of the different types of dementia. Alzheimer's is most commonly diagnosed, followed by a mixed dementia, which may be Lewy body dementia and Alzheimer's, maybe vascular and Alzheimer's, maybe vascular and Lewy body. But there are certain things, those diseases that are associated with cardiovascular disease are the types of dementia that are certainly preventable. What other things can you do? So looking at this list of 9 things, increasing your education through secondary school so that you become literate and are able to interpret health information, manage your high blood pressure, prevent obesity, stop smoking, treat diabetes, reducing physical inactivity, treat depression and reduce social isolation. So hypertension, obesity, smoking, diabetes, and physical inactivity are all associated with heart disease or cardiovascular disease. We do know that extensive cardiovascular disease, blockage of the arteries, blockage of blood flow from the heart, causes blockage of blood flow from the brain. And when you block blood flow from the brain acutely, it's generally known as a stroke. Some strokes are more severe than others, and others are less so severe, but there's still a stroke. You still block blood flow. So the different types of dementia, you look at this pie chart, Alzheimer's most commonly diagnosed, followed by a mixed Alzheimer's and a vascular dementia, vascular alone, Parkinson's related dementia, frontotemporal dementia, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, HIV, alcoholism. Those are other types of dementia. But the most important one I want you to focus on is this mixed one. It's about 1/3 of the pie, vascular and AD. So what causes brain dysfunction? Okay, the protective factors are chronic disease management, managing things like high blood pressure and diabetes and high cholesterol. You manage high cholesterol by taking statins. You exercise daily, 150 minutes a week. Eat properly, a heart healthy diet, a Mediterranean diet, a DASH diet, anything that supports heart health, 1 glass of red wine a day, and maintaining an ideal body weight with a body mass index of 25 or less. Risk factors for brain dysfunction are age and having high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, and cardiovascular disorders. You can read these different things, but on the list of things that put you at risk for dementia, high blood pressure, unmanaged hypertension, unmanaged diabetes, obesity, and cardiovascular disease are major risk factors for vascular dementia. Okay, so what are vascular risk factors for dementia, brain dysfunction? Stroke, atrial fibrillation, heart failure, hypertension, high cholesterol. Those are vascular risk factors for certainly heart disease, but those very same things cause your brain to lose oxygen and not function properly. Other things that may contribute to some of the brain dysfunction associated with cardiovascular disease, tobacco use because it increases arteriosclerosis, thyroid disease, sleep disorder, and diabetes. So what are strokes and what is that? How nobody ever told me I had a stroke. Strokes involve a loss of blood flow to the brain such that the tissue that's being fed by the blood vessel that's blocked dies. So the neurons that are living in that area that are served by that blocked blood vessel are no longer able to function. So they die. And when they die, we will call it a stroke, but technically we call it ischemic brain damage. Brain damage because of lack of blood flow. Silent strokes are found on an MRI or a PET scan in your doctor's office. They may not show any noticeable signs of deficit, but a confluence of them, repeated insults, will show some deficits. They may result in things like wandering, maybe resulting in things like repetitive statements. On an X-ray or an MRI, you will see things that look like little areas of white Those are infarcts where the blood flow has stopped and where the brain tissue has died. We call those white matter hyperintensities. And when you have a lot of those on your MRI, we generally associate that with vascular dementia. High blood pressure increases your risk of stroke. It's a main risk factor for vascular dementia. It disrupts the lining of the blood vessels such that blood flow is impaired to the brain. It impairs your circulation. And when this happens, the protein that's associated with Alzheimer's, called A beta protein, accumulates in greater measure. And this is something that is found in people with Alzheimer's, but it can also be found in people who don't have Alzheimer's. You have increased inflammatory reactions in your blood vessels such that you have further blockage. So inflammation is one of the etiologic risk factors for neurodegeneration. So hypertension, endovascular inflammation, all of these things work to make it such that your brain doesn't get enough blood flow and doesn't work like it's supposed to. ApoE4. ApoE4 is one of the genes that's associated with having Alzheimer's disease, but ApoE4, or being heterozygous, having two different copies of ApoE4, also puts you at risk for having heart disease or cardiovascular disease. So having increased, having ApoE4 homozygosity, having two copies, makes it more likely that you're going to have difficulty with your blood vessels, increased cerebrovascular leakiness, increased small bleeds, and increased developing of white matter hyperintensities. Those are the areas of infarct that you see on the MRI. We're not really sure how all of this works, but cardiologists are looking at ApoE4 genetics in people with heart disease. Heart failure. How does heart failure result in brain dysfunction or vascular dementia? Well, if your heart is not pumping well enough to get blood up to your brain, remember, your brain's not getting enough blood flow, so the nerves and the neurons that are innervated or are getting no blood flow are going to die. So when you start to get to the point where you can't supply enough blood flow to the brain, blood cells will die. Brain cells, will die. Brain will shrink. You have a decrease in brain volume. You're going to have more little mini clots that further block blood flow to the brain. The brain will atrophy, and in people with Alzheimer's, the part of the brain that we're looking at is the hippocampus. So the hippocampus shrinks more likely, as will the cingulate gyrus, the thalamus, and mammillary bodies. These are all parts of the brain that help you to have good cognition and good physical function. And managing your heart failure and your hypertension with blood pressure when you're told to do so generally makes it less likely that you will have the outcomes that we're discussing here. Okay, other things that have to do with heart failure. People with heart failure may be more likely to be diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment. They may have problems with remembering things, little episodes. They may have something called decreased executive function. And if you remember, when we talked about this a couple of months ago, executive function is where you learn how to do something. It helps you plan things and organize things. It's a learned function. Another risk factor for vascular disease is atrial fibrillation. That's when your heart doesn't pump completely. It doesn't contract so that it gets enough blood flow going out. So when you have atrial fibrillation, your heart just quivers. It doesn't pump effectively. So people with atrial fibrillation are more likely to develop blood clots that pool. And when those blood clots move or embolize or move, they become an embolus. And those clots can go and lodge somewhere and block blood flow somewhere. So generally, when we see lots of little teeny weeny infarcts, those are what we call lacunar infarcts, usually caused by little teeny blood clots. And this is something that we see when people have a lot of brain atrophy and shrinkage. And more importantly, on radiologic findings, they have more of these white matter and hyperintensities. Type 2 diabetes is a risk factor for heart disease and stroke. Elevated blood sugar levels make it more likely that you are going to have problems with your blood vessels. You have insulin resistance. That is the mechanism by which people develop diabetes, which means you can't digest or break down your glucose. And again, diabetes is one of the main risk factors for having strokes or stroke-like disease. It causes blood vessels not to work properly, and decrease the amount of blood flow that gets to the brain to keep the neurons working and healthy. I think I talked about white matter hyperintensities. That's the end result of losing your neurons through stroke, not having enough blood flow. I need you to understand that vascular disease or vascular dementia is a consequence of cardiovascular disease. Cardiovascular disease does involve high blood pressure. It does involve high cholesterol. It may also involve diabetes. Controlling your blood pressure, controlling your cholesterol are things that can improve your overall cognitive function, or I should say maintain your cognitive function if you have been diagnosed with hypertension and diabetes. Heart failure, atrial fibrillation cause poor brain blood flow or hypoperfusion. And the way you know that you're not getting enough blood flow to your brain when we see it is to look at an MRI where you're going to see white matter hyperintensities or little evidence of infarct where neuronal cells have died as a result of poor blood flow. In summary, I just need you to do all you can to take care of your blood pressure, your cholesterol. So exercise, take your statins if you have to because you have an elevated cholesterol, and stay engaged. But again, manage your chronic high blood pressure, your cholesterol levels, and your diabetes to make sure that you don't develop vascular disease or vascular dementia. Next.
That's the last
Done.
slide, Dr. Parker.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying next. Next person up.
Okay, so of the list of risk factors on your slides, which one do we have the most control over? What can we do to stave off memory impairment?
I think one of the things that all of us have the power to do, you talked about it when we talked about John, and John Lewis started us off with some exercise. The more exercise you do, the more calories you burn. The exercise, the aerobic exercise, walking, riding your bike, gardening, running, swimming, all of that helps maintain a lower blood pressure. And a good blood pressure, we say shouldn't be higher than 140, but studies have shown that an ideal blood pressure to maintain good brain function is to have a systolic or a top number that's at 120 or less. So keeping your blood pressure under good control is real important, not being higher than 140, not lower than, not much lower than 120. I'm trying to see a question here. Why would a doctor say no MRI needed with vascular disease? I don't know who would say that. How would they know you had vascular disease without looking at your brain? So one of the key features of, one of the key things we do in cognitive assessments is to get a picture of your brain to see what kind of brain architecture, what your brain looks like. And if your brain is shrunken and different things like that, that gives us a clue as to whether or not you're having problems with vascular disease. Again, major risk factors for vascular dementia are high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and type 2 diabetes. I don't understand. Let me put it this way. In the assessment of somebody who's having cognitive difficulties, an MRI is an important piece. If you've been diagnosed with a vascular dementia, a lot of the drugs that we've been talking about as disease modifying therapies are not something that are going to be appropriate for you because they're not managing that. What manages vascular disease are the antihypertensive medicines, the cholesterol medicines, the diabetes medicines, if that's what you're on. You have to manage the vascular risk factors. An Alzheimer's disease drug isn't going to change your need for a vascular drug. So they're different. And remember, the different dementias have different causes and likely different most appropriate therapies.
Okay. And one other question, I know Ken, you're still on, and this goes back to caregiver management. Ms. Joyce asked, how can you get a person to take a shower?
Well, I'm just trying to answer that question. That we need about a 3-hour session for that. But
Mhm.
I think there's two things to consider. One is how is the task itself presented? Is it you need to take a shower, or it's time to take a shower? So here, the signal that's being given is the signal you have to do something, you need to do something. You're being somehow boxed in and coerced to do something, versus a signal that is, I sure think it would be a great time for a shower. Can you help me get you ready for the shower? And maybe back off from the notion of shower. It's time to get changed. Shall we get you ready for a shower? Help me, set up the temperature for the shower. Let me help you get undressed. There's how do you approach it? The other is redefine the notion of shower. So it's not necessarily someone standing under a pummeling amount of water, but possibly someone sitting in a chair, maybe in a tub, and you're holding one of those flexible shower things and just gently wetting portions of the body, starting from maybe the legs and the arms, areas that are not very threatening, not very personal, not sort of private spaces, and then gradually going to the more intimate. If you're washing a person's perineum, that's fairly intimate. So if you are able to kind of get the person relaxed into, oh, that water feels good, you can spend a lot of time saying, doesn't that water feel good? Or if not with a handheld shower, then maybe it's a washcloth or a sponge bath. And then the
Okay.
third thing I was typing in here was to say, the other part of it is what are your expectations? Do you expect the person to take a shower every day? Maybe it's not quite that necessary. Maybe you just want to look for the moment. Maybe it's every third day, fourth day, maybe you're just saying to a person, we could just freshen you up. You don't even have to use the word shower. Let's freshen you up. Make you sort of smell really nice and clean. So I think the way we think about tasks shapes the way we frame it for the person, the way we approach the person for it. So a lot of times this is such a great question. A lot of times when we ask a question like that, we should maybe step back and say, what exactly am I asking the person here? And how can I frame this so it's going to feel comfortable and cooperative and engaging for the person?
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. Matt, do you want to come on and tell us, give us an update about the Cognitive Empowerment Program? And then we're going to close out with Whit Morgan. So if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat for us.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Matt Doiron. I'm the technology specialist at the Emory Cognitive Empowerment Program. We have been doing our, like we mentioned earlier, we have been doing our community live events on Wednesdays. But we are kind of trying this out, see if we can kind of team up with BrainTalk Live. A lot of the stuff that you guys do in your guys' sessions, we do over in ours. We also do workouts. We do other like cognitive talks and other just topics that are relevant for people with MCI. And like I said, so in a few minutes, after BrainTalk Live ends, we're going to be starting up our event, and we're going to be talking about nutrition and cognition and MCI. It's actually funny that you guys were talking about the holidays. I talked to Margot earlier today. She's also planning on how to stick to like a healthy diet during the holidays, which should be interesting. And yeah, I hope you guys can join us today. Also for today, there's going to be no registration. So just feel free to look down in the chat and click the link, and you'll be able to come right over to our webinar as soon as this ends.
Excellent. So everyone, right now, that's your homework before we close with our final speaker. You should copy the link that Matt just shared with you, and that will be the link you will use to join CEP after BrainTalk Live. Okay. All right, Dr. Parker, you still on? And Miss Kathy gave some good tips. She says, make sure the bathroom is really warm. My
Yeah.
mom became very cold natured with her hypothyroidism and dementia. We would turn the heat up 20 minutes prior and even warm the towel.
So I think that this is what consistent with what Dr. Hepburn is saying, kind of like set the stage for her such that she will want to, you know, keeping things warm, keeping things available that she needs to have. In facilities, a lot of times they'll send different caregivers in, and people may not want to take their clothing off in front of caregivers they don't know. So there are a lot of different things that go into that. An occupational therapist can best advise about how to get people to do things like that. An occupational therapist, and you can have an occupational therapy evaluation. There's a well-known occupational therapist named Teepa Snow who talks about these very, very same things. Her name is Teepa Snow. She has a website and she has classes on how to manage people who are living with dementia.
Okay. Is there a test I can take that will tell me if I have dementia?
There's a test somebody can give you. There are things that people can give you. There are some online apps and things that are being developed such that people can develop or detect any kind of cognitive dysfunction a little earlier. And there are technologies being developed. I can't direct you to any that are specific, but there are technologies that are in development. And I think that if you yourself feel you have some cognitive concern or you may be losing something, discuss it first with your primary care doctor who can do a memory screen. He knows how to interpret the memory screen. And if that screen is abnormal, he or she will order additional studies and likely get you referred to a neurologist for a more comprehensive evaluation. But it's always important to touch base with your primary care doctor to make sure that what you're feeling and what you're observing is fixable or not fixable, or related to something that you're doing. Maybe you're administering your medications a little differently. Check in with your primary care doctor first.
And then there's a few more Q&A there, Dr. Parker. I don't know if you want to address them.
I'm getting to them.
Okay. All right. So Whit, you want to come on and tell us about healthy aging? Again, everyone, we're a research center. Everything that you are partaking in or participating in, it's likely because of research. And with that said, we want to encourage you to enroll in research opportunities as you deem appropriate. Right now, what we want to do is normalize research participation for you. And we are a research center. We have over 40 different trials going on in order to hopefully discover new interventions and therapies. So if you are a current research participant, we thank you for volunteering. If you're interested, you can give us your contact information and one of our team members will reach out to you. Or as Whit is about to share, you can be a part of the Healthy Aging Study. So Whit, I'm going to give you co-host, and if you want to give us an update about the Healthy Aging Study.
Perfect. So for those that I have not met before, my name is Whit. I am the communication specialist for the Emory Healthy Aging Study. I also work with the Emory Healthy Brain Study, which is one of our really cool sub-studies. And I do some other work for folks around cognitive neurology. I wanted to take the opportunity today to speak to those that haven't necessarily heard about the aging study before, to tell you a little bit about what it is and what makes it really such a unique research opportunity. So the Emory Healthy Aging Study, just kind of a high-level overview, is a longitudinal research study that we are asking our participants to complete a health history questionnaire once a year. And well, I guess to complete it once for the first year and then just update any information that changes in subsequent years. And we're looking at that information to better help us understand just kind of how we age, but also we're using that information to try and identify and kind of unlock some of the secrets of age-related disease. And so what we're doing with this study, and one of the things that makes it so unique, is that to be able to participate in this research study, you never have to come in to see us. This is actually an opportunity where you can support our research efforts entirely online from the comfort of your home, or maybe a coffee shop or other internet, connected place once we've kind of gotten out of some of this COVID. But it's doable from a computer. You can do it off of an iPad. You could even do it off of a smartphone if you wanted to. And I wanted to pull up our website here because that's kind of the gateway for becoming involved with it. And we have a lot of really cool, useful information on here. But to actually join the study itself, there's a big yellow button up here that says, join the study. And it's as simple as a couple of steps where it walks you through a registration process. You do your consent online. We collect a little bit of contact info in case we got to reach out. And then, of course, we have our health history questionnaire. And that's the really important piece right there, is completing that health history questionnaire. Because on that questionnaire, we're asking you things about your diet, for example. We ask you questions about general demographics and family history. We're going to ask you about medications. Have you had any types of diseases or any major surgeries, things of that nature? And as we go year over year, we're able to collect this data and see how these things change. And those changes are helping us better understand, again, how we age, what that process looks like. And it also helps us identify folks that might be a good fit for some of our other research opportunities, the Healthy Brain Study being one of those. And so I will talk real briefly on the Healthy Brain Study because that's a really important one. It's a really interesting study because it is not one where we are trying to test a new drug and see if it, can stop the progression of Alzheimer's disease. The Healthy Brain Study, our sub-study, is actually where we are focusing on working with healthy individuals who do not have any diagnosis of MCI or Alzheimer's disease. And our goal is to try and find the biomarkers that'll help us predict the developments of those diseases. But it all comes back to the Emory Healthy Aging Study first. And that's a really important thing to note because this study is easily joined. It's open to anybody that is over the age of 18 that lives in the United States. And as long as you have an internet capable device, and you can read and understand English, that's really about all that it takes to be a participant. And so I like to tell folks that if you have, 25 minutes of free time at any given point during a year, you can actually support our research efforts. And I think that's a really cool opportunity that we're trying to get the word out about because our goal is 100,000 participants for this research study. It's the largest one that we've ever undertaken here with Emory in the Atlanta area. And so far, we have had a little over 30,000 people have actually joined the study. So family, friends, neighbors, anybody is welcome to join this study. That you don't have to be, of a certain age as long as you're over 18. And we hope that, you'll take the opportunity here to at least explore this particular research opportunity. And I'm going to put my email address as well into the chat bar here. So that way, if you have any questions or anything about this research study, feel free to contact me directly. Again, my name is Whit. I'm the communications specialist here. And my entire job is making sure that, folks are aware of these really cool opportunities and being able to answer any questions that they may have regarding our research.
Excellent. Dr. Parker, do you have a few minutes? We have 2 minutes before we close out. Thank you all for participating in the poll. Thank you for any first-time attendees.
What do you need help with?
Oh, I just wanted you to close out with, why research is so important.
Okay, sure. Well, research helps us answer questions we don't have answers to. Just as we're all caught up in the pandemic and we're in a big rush to find a vaccine to prevent getting the disease in the first place, we need research to help us understand and better manage and otherwise treat Alzheimer's, and other types of dementia. As you learned in the last couple of weeks, there are several different types of dementia. The way we treat them ultimately with a disease modifying therapy, I mean, something that really changes the trajectory of the disease, is something that needs to be better understood in research. We now have some interventions for the coronavirus. That's something that we had to arrive at with research. So we need your participation, whether you're healthy or not so healthy with respect to brain disease, to better understand what are likely causes, what are things that will work better. Etiologies are going to be a little bit different in different ethnicities and maybe even your gender. We do know that women and our hormonal changes do predispose us to developing Alzheimer's, but we're still studying that. We don't have exact clues and keys. So anything you can do to forestall and do everything you can to stay as healthy as you can, which means exercise, manage your chronic diseases, i.e. if you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, that you manage all of that. Exercise as much as you are able to. Walking, chair exercises, gardening, anything that allows you to stay physically active. So everything we tell you to do to stay better, to stay age healthfully, we want you to try to employ as much as you are able. And whenever you have a health question, please call your primary care doctor and ask him or her. I'm looking at a lot of things in the chat. Is there a test I can take that will tell me if I will get it? Right now, those kinds of tests are not found in the regular doctor's office. Through research, we can do an MRI. We can do a lumbar puncture and look for the protein precursors that may predispose you toward Alzheimer's. There is no one single test at this moment that says you have Alzheimer's or anything else. It's a process that we work through. There are many different factors that go into getting a diagnosis for Alzheimer's. There's no single test, there's no single drug at this point in time that definitively treats any of the neurodegenerative disorders.
And one final remark, and remember to copy the chat, everyone, so you can join CEP. Dr. Parker, what are your thoughts about aducanumab?
Well, last week, aducanumab was reviewed by the FDA, and it was not approved for wide dissemination. They seemed to feel that there needed to be a little bit more proof that it was truly something that was reversing the course. And apparently they did not find enough proof to say that aducanumab was doing all that we needed it to do. So there's going to be another hearing, another review in the spring, and hopefully there will be more evidence presented by the researchers or the scientists that are working on aducanumab. There have been ongoing trials. So hopefully in the spring, there will be more evidence produced to show how well or maybe how poorly maybe this presumed disease modifying drug may help us. We really don't know right now, but it appears from the hearing that took place last week that there wasn't enough evidence to approve aducanumab as a disease modifying therapy as it presently stands. I think there is more work that needs to be done. They need a little bit more proof.
Okay, all right, it is the top of the hour, everyone. Thank you again for joining us. And again, go over and continue with your learning. We know learning is neuroprotective. Join us next week. We will be back with our faculty and with Dr. Hepburn and Dr. Parker again. And as we go into the holiday season, spell out this drug and put on chat. Yeah, it's a mouthful. Aducanumab. All right. Thank you. There is the Zoom link.
Yeah, I think there might have been a little bit of confusion. I don't know if Zoom changed the link, but if everyone just takes a look in the chat, The last link that we just posted should definitely work. It starts with 919121. That one. And I'll see you guys in a minute. Well,
Matt, before you leave, can you put I know you're putting the link in there, but can you put the repeat 919, the 121? Will you repeat that for people?
Yeah, so the meeting ID or the URL is zoom.us/j/ and then the meeting ID is 919-121-46923.
Okay. Was there a discrepancy in the chat or?
Yeah, I think we might have posted one. I wasn't able to test out that other one. It might go to the same location, but I definitely know
Okay.
that.
The one that ends in 6923.
Yep.
Okay, we'll give people a few minutes 1 or 2 minutes to grab that one. The one that Matt just posted is the correct one.
See you guys soon.
Sometimes Zoom will automatically generate an ID for us, even beyond our personal ID. So, but we want everyone to hang out over there and hear from Maureen and their group. That way on Wednesday, you don't have to rejoin a separate day and time. You just sort of carry over your learning for this Tuesday. All right, and remember, healthyaging.emory.edu. We want everyone on to join. You can join from anywhere in the world, the Healthy Aging Study. If you want to be an active participant in aging research, it's an online study. Again, you can do it from the comfort of your home, and you can share that link with anyone. Again, it takes some time, so be patient and to sit down and go through the questionnaire. But once you do that, you're an active participant in research. Okay, thank you, Ms. Gwendolyn. Thank you, Ms. Marilyn. Thank you. Encourage everyone to join. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Joe, I will spell out aducanumab on the chat. Or type it out, I'll say that. Okay, you're asking, is Dr. Law LHU or Dr. Hugh HU? You're asking, there's the link. Dr. Law, LAH, yeah, he has clinic on Tuesday, so we are hoping to be able to grab him for 10 minutes in between seeing patients, but we will try to get Dr. Law to join us before the end of the month. We have a few more Tuesdays in November, so our goal and hope is we can get him to come on, but Tuesdays are his clinic day. And the reason why we do Tuesdays is we asked everyone early on if what day and time was ideal to maximize participation. And this is the time slot that was selected and has been repeatedly selected for our group. Yes, Dr. Law, LAH. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, everyone, we are wrapping up